Hey guys, it's Walnut here. So, as you could probably tell from a certain previous video... What? I can't! Stop! No! What is this? What is that? Why is Susie brown? I'm pretty excited for Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4. This game has so much heart poured into its story and characters, and I've also been remembering just how insanely funny it is. The fandom has spent years predicting and analyzing these two chapters, wondering what comes next, even making it themselves in some cases, and I've been wanting to do some kind of discussion video about my own last-minute predictions and hopes before the next chapters come out. Chapter 2 ended with Chris creating a dark fountain right in front of us. Does that mean Chris is the knight? What's the deal with the TV guy? Why does Gaster keep driving people insane? Is Friend Inside Me real? What the heck is Pluie? And why is Susie brown in this part of the trailer? I've been wondering how to make a video discussing some of these questions, so why not a bingo card? This thing has 16 different ideas and predictions, and I'll be crossing out whichever ones happen in the game when I actually play Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4. Some are serious, a few are less serious, but they all fall into 3 categories. Major mystery developments. New info on our biggest questions like the Knight, and of course... new Darkeners. Ideas for some of the new characters we'll meet in the Dark Worlds, mostly Chapter 3. And events. Any shenanigans that'll happen in the chapters. Pretty much everything else. Also, disclaimer, this video talks about some pretty deep-cut fan theories with a lot of expected knowledge, so if you're just a casual fan who played this game recently and hasn't been hugely involved in the fan base, maybe check out my playthrough of the chapters when they come out. So why don't we jump right in with new Darkeners? What are Darkeners again? A Darkener is any object brought to life by a dark fountain. Your Lancers, your Queens, your Spamtons. Let's speculate on what kinds of characters we've yet to encounter. Director Tenna. You know the smiling TV at the end of Chapter 2 that's obviously going to be a major character in Chapter 3? Based on the Spamton Sweepstakes website and a lot of external stuff like Toby's social media, that character's canon name is Tenna. The first thing you'd expect from a TV character in a TV-themed world is that they'd be some kind of actor, but some people think that Tenna might instead be some kind of director or producer, some kind of behind-the-scenes manager, since the TV is the one who brings the show to you, doesn't necessarily participate in it. It would also help keep him separate from Mettaton and Undertale, who kind of already did the whole actor thing. Chariel, who is not just the regular living room chair in the Dreamer's living room, but the beloved living room chair. This chair turning into a Darkener seems like a slam dunk to me. It's an object that's already being personified before it turns into a character, it has a name and everything, and it's like a foot away from the TV. Asgore parallel. This is the idea that there will be some character in Chapter 3, maybe Tenna, maybe not, who will be an intentional parallel to Asgore or to Asgore and Toriel's relationship, like how Queen in Chapter 2 paralleled Noelle's relationship with her mother. I think this is a pretty good way to add some depth to the story and Toriel's character. Asgore's flowers. This might end up overlapping with the last one. It's the common theory that the flowers Asgore keeps buying Toriel, which seem to keep ending up in the trash, will be a Darkener in Chapter 3. The most obvious thing is that they'd be a secret boss, since it would fit with the pattern of secret bosses being objects that are rejected and cast aside, but maybe they'd play some other role. Ice-E character. So, what the heck is the deal with Ice-E? He's this mascot whose face is plastered all over Deltarune, and there's been this idea that there'll be some kind of character based on him. It'd most likely be a Darkener, maybe the Ice-E branded shampoo bottle in the Dreamer's bathroom, or maybe the pizza box that's supposedly buried in the cemetery according to the Spamton Sweepstakes. Next up is major mystery developments. Major Knight information. Okay, let me just have a little discussion about the Knight. This might annoy some people, but I personally think the Knight is most likely Chris.
No, what? Dude, no! We're having so much fun!
Yeah, I know not everything lines up perfectly, but it just makes too much sense for me. Especially after the Live Alive interview, where Toby was comparing his game to a different game and says the main character may play a role beyond the simple hero. So if it's confirmed that the Roaring Knight made the Chapter 3 Dark World, then yeah, that'll certainly count this spot. If it isn't Chris, which I don't think is out of the question, then I'll count this spot if we get information on who that real knight is, what they look like, what kind of monster, something to start ruling out candidates. Mike is this mysterious character that Spamton keeps mentioning throughout Chapter 2. For a while, everyone assumed Mike to be either the name of the TV villain in Chapter 3, or just a reference to this commercial for Big Shot Soda.
You need a big shot? I got your big shot right here. We got 12 delicious flavors, and you'll love them all.
Savor Center has all your big shot tailgate party needs at prices too low to mention.
But the Spamton Sweepstakes managed to prove both of these wrong. The page Damn You Tenna not only confirms that Tenna is the name of the TV guy, not Mike, but also has Spamton saying that he's going to make Tenna and everyone else pay. Everyone except Mike. Mike is a friend of Spamton who appears to have some connection to Tenna. I assume he'd be a Darkener, and it's not much of a stretch to think he might appear in Chapter 3. Image_friend. So, there's this rare Easter egg you can find in Chapter 2. This weird little face you can rarely see in the mansion basement while doing Spamton's whole thing. The new update to the Spamton sweepstakes seems to hint that this character is some kind of cat Darkener, or creature, which makes sense because the face kind of looks like the Cheshire Cat with the eyes and mouth just floating there. This is the hope that this character, which the files just call Image_friend, will be a recurring character in new chapters and not just a one-time Easter egg. I honestly really hope this guy is important. I really think he's the character that wrote the Mystery Valentine in the newsletter from a while ago. Like, if you read that in the Cheshire Cat voice, it just feels so right, man. Last up is events. Things I think will happen. Susie Zilla. This is the theory that Susie's fantasy of being a giant Godzilla-type monster that was brought up in Chapter 2 was actually foreshadowing something in Chapter 3. Susie was talking about watching monster movies before she fell asleep, so maybe a giant Susie's the only way to defeat the final boss of the chapter? Father Alvin. This is a pretty common one. The hope that Father Alvin, the priest that you can talk to in front of the church in Chapter 1 and in the cemetery in Chapter 2, will be an important character in Chapter 4, which is all but confirmed to take place inside the church. So yeah, seems pretty likely, though I don't know exactly what role he'd play. He could be an enemy, but he doesn't seem like a bad guy, so maybe he'll be tricked into fighting us like what happened with Birdley? Starwalker. This one... Okay, this is my personal hope that the original Starwalker will continue to be a recurring joke after Chapter 2. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who cares about this. I've never seen anyone talk about, oh, I hope Starwalker is going to be in Chapter 3 and 4. But Starwalker. It's like the funniest thing to me for some reason, and I really hope they don't just drop the joke. Undyne/Napstablook. This is the hope that Officer Undyne and/or Deputy Napstablook will be in Chapter 3. Toriel calls the police at the end of Chapter 2 to report her tires being slashed, and Chris literally leaves the door open for them before making the fountain. I think it would be insanely funny if we're all expecting Undyne to show up because she's an important character in Undertale, but instead it turns out she just sent Napstablook to check it out, and he's like, oh, where am I? Something spooky.
Do something spooky.
This isn't a theory or an idea, just a bingo spot for if I get scared at some point in Chapter 4, or maybe even Chapter 3, but Chapter 4 seems more like the type. Something like Image Friend in Queen's basement or Spamton's shop, just slightly disconcerting. In fact, I've been wondering if the Church Dark World itself might be entirely horror-themed. Fandom meme reference. This is the hope that somewhere in the new chapters there will be a reference to one of the many, many inside jokes and memes that have sprung up in the fandom over the years. Like Rousey smoking or Chris, where the hell are we? I just think this would be really funny. Buff Jockington. Okay, this is the idea that Jockington, the snake guy who is already confirmed to play some role in Chapter 4, will have a super buff Dark World form. Every Lightner who enters a Dark World seems to have a different form they take on, like how Chris turns blue and gets armor, Susie gets her vest, and Birdley gets whatever this is. What if Jockington, who is supposedly really athletic despite having no arms or legs, just becomes insanely big and strong? That's just funny, I can't help it. Cowboys! Okay, this one has a lot to unpack. There was an old Deltarune newsletter that talked about a cowboy segment in Chapter 3 that was in danger of being cancelled. Since this was never brought up again after this, I think it's safe to say it probably wasn't cancelled. Like, they didn't even give a reason. Some people think it goes deeper than that. About a year after Chapter 2 came out, Toby started posting this weird video to his Tumblr account repeatedly. This, combined with the thing about a cowboy segment being cancelled, means some people speculate that this is all foreshadowing for, stay with me here, the secret boss of Chapter 3 being a cowboy puppet like Woody from Toy Story, from a cancelled cowboy TV show, like how every secret boss is an object that's been cast aside. I'm not quite based enough to put a spot on the bingo card for that theory specifically, so if there's anything cowboy related at all, this spot will be filled. And that's my bingo card. Looking at it now, it seems that all the most likely directions have one thing keeping it from being a slam dunk. Like, maybe the third row, but then I'm not sure about Buff Jockington, or if Asgore's Flowers and Cowboys would be able to both happen. Maybe the third column, I guess I could see that. Second column, there's a chance that I might not get a bingo at all. There's a chance that most of these could be wrong and everything will be completely unexpected, who knows? I'm really excited for these chapters to come out. We all are. But now that we're here at the end, I just wanted to say something I've been thinking about. A few years ago, I was really looking forward to Pikmin 4. I spent years building up this image for it in my mind. It was going to be the biggest and coolest game ever, and eventually Pikmin 4 came out, and it was great. But it was also a video game, and there's no such thing as a perfect video game. There were a few odd design choices, it was a little on the easy side, and the controls were kind of weird. What I'm saying is that when you spend so long imagining something, putting years of expectations on it, it'll probably struggle to meet those expectations no matter how great it ends up being. I don't want to rain on anyone's hype, but just remember that this game is being made by fallible human beings, okay? Many of the predictions I've made on and off this bingo card probably won't happen. Maybe most of them. But I think I'll enjoy the game anyway. Deltarune tomorrow!